Lata, we had reported this last night, and he was the front runner, and it is now finally Shaktikanta Das.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, a man who comes with a lot of experience. He has worked with this government and with past governments. So there is a certain continuity and comfort with various regimes. By the way, Tamil Nadu order, Shireen. He belongs to the Tamil Nadu order. He can speak Tamil. That's a very important qualification for the job he is in. I mean, bridges a lot of divides, as as is important in this job. But importantly, Mr. Das definitely comes with a lot of experience. And his tenure, he was the DEA secretary when Raghuram Rajan was Governor Reserve Bank, and believed to have had fairly cordial relations with the Reserve Bank. So perhaps will be a very, very accepted face. In fact, I must tell you this, there were senior RBI guys who have now retired, just retired, recently retired, who actually fervently hoped it would be an IAS officer, simply because peace would return and they can get down to work at last rather than be mired in controversies. Someone who could pick up the phone and someone who would be respected. Shaktikanta Das would be a senior to a lot of people in Finance Ministry, in Commerce Ministry, and therefore there wouldn't be angry exchanges. There would be deferential towards a senior, and hence perhaps work would get done, or at least disagreements resolved amicably. So I actually today got ex-RBI guys telling me that perhaps a good idea to apply a salve on all these wounds is to actually get an IAS officer. And this was when I asked them what would their reaction be to Shaktikanta Das. At the moment, the G20 Sherpa, so he's also quite familiar with some important political entities around the world because of the recent G20 meet as well, where he was seen as a key official. So Shaktikanta Das certainly comes with a lot of qualifications, been there, done that, and therefore has seen the equation from the government's side, and now as Finance Commission understands the fiscal backdrop in which monetary decisions will have to be taken. Certainly a man who will perhaps be able to mend fences. We will have to wait and see, of course, the famous statement from Dr. Subbarao that when an IAS officer takes the flight and lands in Mumbai, somewhere in the flight he becomes an RBI man. The organization has the ability to just, own up and capture the incumbent at Mint Street.
Absolutely.
So we will have to wait and see.
The Finance Ministry has sent many to the Reserve Bank of India's
Yes.
Governor. Nilesh Shah, quick reaction. Shaktikanta Das as RBI Governor. What do you make of the government's decision?
No, I think this is an excellent choice. As Lata said, he has all the right credentials which are really suited for the job, and I think this is an excellent choice. I think his past credentials, past experience will ensure that there is compatibility with the government and the Ministry of Finance. Of course, his new hat will require him to kind of bring about and ensure autonomy of the RBI. So I clearly think this is a great choice, and I think his top priority would be to strike the right balance between autonomy as well as compatibility with the government.
Okay. Well, Ashok Wadhwa is also with us. Mr. Wadhwa, your thoughts on the new RBI governor?
I think the first and the most important compliment I'd like to pay to the government is the speed with which they have taken this decision, recognizing that the most important seat in the Mint Street cannot remain vacant. So compliments in terms of executing the decision and getting all the necessary approvals. We know that sometimes the process can take very, very long. So clearly the markets should cheer this tomorrow morning that there is a governor at the Reserve Bank of India.
Okay.
And I agree with Nilesh, as I said earlier. I think here is he's a balanced individual. Here is a person who's very experienced. He knows exactly how the government and the bureaucracy operates. Of course, he will have to be independent, demonstrate autonomy, and yet, demonstrate compatibility within the operating environment. So I would say, given the current situation, perhaps one of the best choices.
Okay, actually, Shireen, let me just mention this to you. One of the stories doing the rounds, and this has emanated from people who say they are very close to powers in Delhi, that the governor had actually indicated to the Prime Minister that he wanted to lay down office much earlier, and he was told to stay on till the elections are over because it would be disruptive before that, and that's why he waited. So while Mr. Wadhwa, you may be right that they learnt about it 24 hours earlier and still made up their minds, but chances are, if this story is right, we didn't report it because it's come from, you know, urti khabar. So if this is true that the governor had already intimated and he was asked to continue, the government had decent amount of time. So everybody in the market believed that the government always had a plan B, because we reported, if you remember, Shireen, in early November, that the governor was very close to signing off. And therefore, if we were so close to that news, it's very clear that the government would have been ready with a plan B from that day.
You know, we have the head of the BJP's economic cell here with us, Gopal Agarwal. As we've been pointing out, this has been urti khabar all of last night, that actually on the 19th, when the Prime Minister met with the RBI Governor Urjit Patel, the governor had expressed his decision to put in his papers then, and this plan B was already set in motion then.
No, I don't have privy to that information, but what I think is that there has been discussions between the Prime Minister, and after that it was what was coming in the public domain, or the discussion was that the issues have been settled. I think there are some issues with regard to some other things have cropped, and as he has been said, it is because of the personal reasons, and we should not read too much into what goes behind his resignation. He has almost, Prime Minister has said that Urjit Patel has almost completed 6 years as Deputy Governor and Governor, and his contribution had been exemplary, and he has built up a good institution, and has contributed a lot, and Finance Minister also had appreciated his work. But this is a natural change. I think this has to go on. Though we are, a resignation
by the Reserve Bank Governor is in the middle of his tenure is not a natural change, sir. That is an unprecedented event. While you may not want to speculate on, but it's not a natural change. Salman, so very quickly, a quick comment from you.
Well, you know, first of all, I think clearly not natural, and by the way, it's also not personal. Clearly, there's a breakdown in relationship. The governor was being undermined by putting in people who probably don't know much about monetary policy. They put them in the board. They undermined and disrespected the governor, and he quit. So he can say personal reasons, but they were not personal reasons. Now, Mr. Das is, you know, one of the heroes of demonetization. I'm not comfortable with his appointment as RBI governor. I think he was complicit he was complicit in the decision to demonetize. These guys did not say anything at that time when demonetization happened. That really hurt the country. So I'm not really comfortable with having basically a yes man as the RBI governor. I think this is a bad choice for India. And by the way, I'm really struck by this whole notion that the markets will rejoice. Please, please do not interrupt me, Mr. Agarwal. I'm really struck by this notion that the market should rejoice.
Mr. Agarwal, I'll give you a chance.
If BJP were to win 1 state or 2 states, whatever, you know, the markets have actually done much worse under Prime Minister Modi than they did even under the much maligned UPA 2. I don't understand what this fascination for BJP is in the markets. You know, if you look at corporate earnings, down.
Okay.
I don't know what you guys are talking about. You guys should be happy if UPA comes back to power, because that's how the economy is going to come back. So the market should be rejoicing if the Congress comes back, because we have experienced people. You should, you know, so I'm honestly, I think this is disingenuous. I think you're doing great disservice to yourselves.
I don't understand it. It's shocking. Nilesh Shah with a smile on his face. I'll get them to respond to Salman Soz in just a second, but very quickly let me bring Anant Narayan on the conversation as well. Anant, Shaktikanta Das, as we had reported, it is now confirmed he takes on from Urjit Patel. A quick reaction.
Well, Shireen, normally one would celebrate an appointment like this, because we have seen very, very good governors coming in from the bureaucracy in the past. These are not normal times. This comes at the back of very, very core differences between the government and the RBI. And we've seen some of those issues, such as raiding of the RBI's balance sheet, call it one way or the other, relaxation of PCA norms, giving forbearance on loan recognition and so on and so forth. Now, putting somebody who's seen close to the dispensation will raise concerns that the government might push its way through on all these issues that Dr. Patel was resisting upon. Now, so while I'm sure Mr. Shaktikanta Das is a fantastic bureaucrat and very, very capable. He's clearly got all the credentials. His CV is fantastic. We'll have to watch very closely as to what happens over the next few days.
Okay.
If we do see compromise coming through from the RBI on all these key factors, whether we like it or not, the autonomy of the RBI will be under question. And this will be seen as the government having its way with the RBI.
And, to be fair, no matter who comes, this is what RBI watchers, foreign investors and the financial sector will watch. You could fill in any name there, but the market will want to watch whether the new governor easily allows the government to put its hand into the RBI still and pick up that 3.5 or 2.5 lakh crore that one believes they are eyeing, whether they allow the weak banks to lend to weak borrowers in the NBFC space. All these will be asset tests. And, Viral Acharya had spoken of the wrath of the market sooner or later. Technically, if all these golden rules are, broken, that you allow weak banks to lend to bad borrowers or risky borrowers in NBFC, surely the wrath of the markets will come sooner or later. So that always remains. You can fill in any name in Shaktikanta's blanks, and that person will have to prove that he will maintain the sanctity and the fundamental principles on which a good financial sector will have to be run. No two ways about what you are saying. And is he a yes man or will he stand up? We should not prejudge. Let us wait and see. He walks into a very difficult situation. There is no denying that. The government has already empowered the boards, and that decision is going to be legalized in the December 14 board meeting, we were told. Governance rules that put the board committees as supervisory authorities over the Reserve Bank and each of its actions. This is something which we have not heard. Of course, we have the Board of Financial Supervision already. We have a payments board already. But now we're going to have board committees for various actions of the Reserve Bank. So clearly that's going to be a challenge.
Lata, just 1 second. Lata, let's bring in the first reaction from the government. The CEO of the Niti Aayog, Amitabh Kant, also an IAS officer from the 1980 batch, a colleague of Shaktikanta Das, joins us. Mr. Kant, appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV 18. Shaktikanta Das, now the governor of the Reserve Bank of India. Your first comments on the fact that he finds himself treading into fairly troubled waters.
Shireen, Shakti is a very seasoned, very matured officer. He's also a very distinguished officer. He's handled the budget of Government of India for a very, very long time. He's been the finance secretary of Government of Tamil Nadu as well, and has done budget for Tamil Nadu for very long period of time. I don't think any other officer in Government of India has the experience which Shakti has in matters of finance, both at Government of India and at the state level. He's also been the industry secretary of Tamil Nadu and had steered investments across a range of areas, particularly in the automobile sector. So in terms of sheer experience of finance, industry, budget, he brings in a very, very formidable experience. He's also, as I said, extremely matured. He has a great ability of consensus building. He has this great ability of taking his team along. And he has a great ability of working as a team leader. And I've known him for a very, very long time, from my college days in St. Stephen's College. And subsequently he's from my batch of the Indian Administrative Service. And let me tell you very clearly that he's an outstanding choice. Immense experience, immense maturity, and tremendous caliber and great team leader.
Well, I happen to be a St. Stephen's alumni as well, so I know exactly what you mean. But as you pointed out, 1980 batch, the same as Shaktikanta Das. But, you know, the point that you were making, Mr. Kant, about him being a consensus builder, a team player, so to speak, given the fact that it's no secret that there has been a rift between the government and the Reserve Bank of India over crucial issues, a virtual breakdown of communication. So is it crucial then that here is a man who has finance ministry experience, now going into the Reserve Bank of India? He knows Mr. Jaitley very well. He knows Subhash Chandra Garg very well. He's worked with these people. How crucial is it that he already has existing relationships and good relationships with the team at North Block as he heads to Mint Street?
Yeah. You know, the great thing is that he's worked in government. He's been on the board of RBI earlier. I don't think anybody else would have this great capability of ensuring that the autonomy of RBI is fully maintained and work in good partnership with the government. Both these are necessary to my mind. We must send out a clear message that the RBI is an autonomous institution, and as well as our ability to see that we are able to work in very, very close partnership with the government so that economic growth is maintained, so that India continues to grow and expand. And all this Shakti is very capable. Shaktikanta Das is extremely capable of doing.
You know, Mr. Kanta, as the CEO of the Niti Aayog, you're also sort of checking on the pulse as far as the state of the economy is concerned. Now, we know that the government had several asks of the Reserve Bank of India to improve credit to NBFCs, for instance, to enhance lending, to move some banks out of the prompt corrective action mechanism. Now, these are controversial issues, and Mr. Das is going to have to tread very, very carefully and do a balancing act to try and ensure that the Reserve Bank as an institution does not become or is not seen from a perception point of view as a department of the Ministry of Finance. Now, as a bureaucrat, as someone in government yourself, you've had to play this balancing role many times over. What is going to be the challenge here?
Shireen, very clearly to my mind, the most critical thing as far as both RBI is concerned and as far as Government of India is concerned is to ensure that India continues to grow. I think this is the objective of RBI and this is the objective of Government of India. RBI has already done an admirable job, and an absolutely admirable job of containing inflation. And I think important thing now is to also ensure that there is adequate liquidity in the system so that there are credit flows and our industry and our medium and small enterprises all are not starved of funding at all.
Yeah.
And I think all these issues need to be managed, and this all these issues can be brought to converge together. And I don't think any one of these objectives are contrary to each other. And I think the experience of Shaktikanta Das as both having done industries portfolio for a very long time in a state which spearheaded industrialization then, and as having been the finance secretary at both the state level and the central level, is a very, very rich and varied experience, which I'm sure he'll bring. And in addition to that, I can assure you that he's a man who has great capability of building consensus around these issues.
Okay, building consensus, Mr. Kant, I think that will be the most important, since people have diametrically opposite positions on some of the issues that are confronting the RBI board at this juncture. I want to also point out that Mr. Shaktikanta Das will be the first governor in perhaps 30 years or 28 years who is not doctoral who does not have a doctoral degree in economics or finance. I think from Rangarajan and then Bimal Jalan, then Y.V. Reddy, Dr. Subbarao, then Raghurab Rajan and Urjit Patel were all doctorals either in finance or in economics. Mr. Shaktikanta Das is a postgraduate in history. And of course, not that reduces anything that he brings by way of experience, but we have Mr. Khan, do stay with us. H.R. Khan, the former Deputy Governor of Reserve Bank, has joined us. Okay, and we also have Dr. Bimal Jalan with us. Dr. Jalan, good evening, sir. Shaktikanta Das, how well do you know him? And do you think this is a good choice under the current circumstances?
No, under the current circumstances, there can't be two opinions. It's a good choice. He's from the government. He was in the finance ministry, and he will now be working in the RBI. So I'm sure that, there will of course be differences in future, but they will be internal and not in public domain.
Okay.
So it will work out. I'm glad that
Okay,
I'm
so we were just discussing.
Yeah.
So we were just discussing. He's a postgraduate in history, although he has wide experience in economic policy making. From
right.
your predecessor onwards, right up to the governor who just resigned, you were all doctoral degree holders in economics. Will that be a bit of a disadvantage?
No, I don't think so. Once you have, if you're a finance secretary, if you have worked in the Ministry of Finance, then it doesn't matter, really. You have that experience. And you are making economic policy and you are doing monetary policy or whatever it is.